But I want to go ahead and get started with this call. And it is absolutely great to see everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. It's a great opportunity for us to talk about some of the hot items that we have to discuss, things that are happening just this week, major things going on for us, and to share some of our union's accomplishments from 2023 and to discuss some of our union's goals for 2024. I want to begin by thanking all of the dues-paying members of this union. It is dues-paying members that make our entire fight possible. So thank you all for your commitment and maintaining the strength of our union by being dues-paying members. I also want to thank all the local and council officers, stewards, and other union leaders that are on this call. You are the ones in this union that make everything that we do possible. None of the good things that we do as union would be possible without the hard work of every one of our local and council leaders out there. So thank you all very much for what you do every day for this union. So we are now over 3 years into the Biden administration with a huge fork in the road facing us in November of 2024. Of course, we're talking about Election Day. I want to make sure everybody is registered to vote and being prepared to participate in the election this year. Huge consequences for federal employees, unions, and working people everywhere. A year ago on a call like this, when we were on a call like this, we talked about how President Biden had been very strong for unions and for working people. I have consistently said that in my view, Biden has been the best president for working people, for our union NFFE, and for the labor movement of any president in our lifetime. And I believe that that is still true today. And, you know, we have been seeing that firsthand almost daily from this administration. The Biden administration has given us great access and important recognition at every turn, as have OPM and dozens of agencies throughout the federal government where NFFE has membership. Our working relationship with agency leaders, the White House, and hundreds of members of Congress and their staff allow us to make great strides in 2023, and I am very proud of the accomplishments that we have had over the course of the year. Before I go into some of those recent accomplishments, I am going to go to our executive director, Steve Lenkart, who is our chief lobbyist on Capitol Hill, and he's going to talk for just a couple minutes about the so-called minibus appropriations bill that just passed in the House of Representatives yesterday. And it funds many of the agencies where we have members for the rest of the fiscal year. So with that, Steve, if you're ready, please take it away.
Thanks, Randy. Yeah, so a lot of you, if you've been following the appropriations process this year, including all the continuing resolutions to keep the government going, you're probably feeling a little bit confused and overwhelmed. It's not you. You should feel confused and overwhelmed. It's been a very unusual year as far as appropriations go. But things are starting to turn for the better. They started turning for the better this week. So what Speaker Johnson did at the beginning of the fiscal year, when the continuing resolutions were being passed to continue to fund the government, he broke up the what is 12 annual appropriations bills that always have to pass to keep the government running. He split them up into 2 groups, in 6 and 6. And those 2 groups of bills are called minibus bills. The first minibus bill, as Randy said, just passed yesterday in the House, and then will be passed either today or tomorrow in the Senate as well, too. So what culminated from this first group of bills was really more than a year of work on NFFE's part to make sure that we weren't going to endure cuts to programs and personnels for our members. And also we wanted to maintain our wildland firefighter raises until we can get a permanent solution passed in the Congress as well too. So I was relieved that Sunday night I got an email, or actually a text message from Senate appropriators saying that there was an agreement on the first omnibus bill. Both the House and Senate agreed to it. A lot of the cuts were avoided, and the Interior Appropriations bill secured that firefighter raise funding throughout the rest of this fiscal year. And that was a separate effort from the bills that you've heard about as the permanent solution. This is one just to make sure that we don't hit a pay cliff sometime during this fiscal year. So that was a victory, and a very strong language was included in the appropriations write-up that really spotlighted firefighter pay, and they sent a very, very strong message to the rest of the Congress saying that that we need to pass the permanent solution that we're working on as well too. That was included in the report language and also reflected in the numbers of the appropriations bill that passed. So we had the luxury of knowing Sunday night that this week was going to go very well. The House took up the bill yesterday under an expedited procedures, which means you don't have the normal floor drama, amendments, debates, and things like that. And it was all but certain to pass. And then the Senate is taking a procedural vote, which means there's no amendments, there's no floor debates, again, no drama on the floor. And that's expected to be done either Thursday or today or tomorrow before the bill runs out at midnight. So, and you kind of got expected to. The last thing the Republicans want to do is give a Democratic president a platform on the day of his State of the Union speech to blame a shutdown on Republicans. So it probably was a pretty smart idea that, Republicans made sure at least this round of appropriations got through. So from that perspective, it was nice. For once, we didn't have to wait to the last minute to figure out what was going on or if there's going to be a shutdown. We knew far in advance. And like I said, we held off cuts and we maintained firefighter pay. We have a second set of the second omnibus bill, which is the second set of appropriations bills. It's going to pass or slated to pass by the 22nd of this month. We still have a little bit of work to go on those, but those agencies include Defense, Interior, including Forest Service, Homeland Security, Labor, HHS, and Financial Services, which is the independent agencies, Commerce, State Justice, and the legislative branch. So those bills, the deadline for them to pass is the 22nd. If not, then they'll have to do another short-term CR for that. And we'll keep you posted over the next few weeks as those bills get closer to being passed. But do remember, if there is a shutdown, those who are furloughed are guaranteed their pay because of a law that NFFE passed, largely pushed to pass in 2019, that provides automatic back pay to people who are furloughed, which was not something in law. If you worked during a shutdown, you would eventually get your pay, but if you were furloughed, you were not guaranteed that pay. We had to go back to Congress and ask for that every single time. That ended in 2019 when we passed that law that says any future shutdowns, whether you're furloughed or not, you will get paid. So there'll be an interruption to your pay, but you will indeed get that pay at some point in time. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Randy.
Okay, Steve, thank you. We will be coming back to you later in the call. So another big thing happened yesterday as well. President Biden signed an executive order reestablishing labor management forums. That's a big deal for us. This is something we have been asking for the last several years, and now it is finally done. We think it means good things for our members. So I'm going to go to our general counsel, Jeff Friday, to discuss it. Take it away, Jeff.
Thank you, Randy. Hello, everybody. So as Randy mentioned, yesterday, the Biden administration issued an executive order reestablishing labor management forums. So let me just give you the 1-minute history of partnership. Go back into the 1990s. The term partnership first began used in the Clinton administration. They had an executive order 12871, which established the National Partnership Council and agency labor management partnerships in order to have pre-decisional discussions between unions and management, and it also encouraged agencies to bargain on permissive subjects. And so the idea is for the parties to talk about issues that are beyond the collective bargaining agreement. And so we had that during the Clinton administration. Then when George W. Bush came in, he rescinded that. Then when President Obama came in 2009, he issued Executive Order 13522, which created labor management forums, which was really the same thing as partnership. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the terms are interchangeable. But again, there was like a national forum, and then agencies were directed to establish forums in their agencies between the unions and management. So then when Donald Trump was elected and came into office in 2017, he issued an executive order 13812, which not only rescinded the Obama executive order, but actually affirmatively directed agencies not to engage in any kind of partnership type discussions, or to have forums, or to spend money on anything. Basically said it's useless and don't do it. So then when President Biden came in, and as Randy mentioned, he's very pro-union, and so one question might be why did he issue this executive order just now as opposed to like 3 years ago? Well, we did get an executive order issued 14003, which was very pro-labor, came out in the very first days of the Biden administration, and got rid of all the other Trump executive orders, which were very bad for unions. My understanding was that there was some technicality with the Trump partnership revocation, that it required certain steps to be gone through. It couldn't be done at that time. But the Biden administration has, consistently told agencies that they need to engage in partnership activities. And I think in most of the major agencies, certainly in the Forest Service, certainly in the VA, they have reinstituted partnership, from the beginning of the administration. Perhaps in DOD, not as much, perhaps maybe not in some of the other agencies as much. But now, as of yesterday, they've been directed to the extent that they weren't already doing it. So it's a good thing. And there are certain requirements that the executive order establishes for them to report on how the activities are going on. And so it may be that there'll be somewhat of an uptick in partnership activities in some of our agencies, most of them, I think it's already being done. So that's my summary. Back to you, Randy.
Thank you, Jeff. Before I continue here, I did want to make one quick announcement. We are going to be fielding questions at the end of the call. We did solicit some questions and already have a few. But if you want to get a question in, email Matt Dorsey, and his email is mdorsey@neffe.org. Matt Dorsey. If you want to get a question in, email it to him. He just posted it there he posted it there, so you can see his email address. Click on there. Send any questions if you want. We'll try to get to them. Not sure if we're going to have any time, but if you have any last minute questions, please submit them there. So going to get back to some of our big accomplishments from last year. One of the things I'm most proud about is how we have substantially raised our ability to get things done on Capitol Hill. Is something that's hard to quantify sometimes, but we are seeing it clear as day, and it's a benefit to our members. Last year, we had our most successful lobby week in decades. The legislative conference, we had about 150 congressional offices that were visited and talked about issues impacting Department of Defense, the VA, Forest Service, Passport, GEO, and numerous other federal agencies, not to mention government-wide issues impacting pay and pensions, workplace protections, and other issues. We went to bat for a big federal pay adjustment and got a 5.2% pay bump, average pay bump nationwide. the biggest raise for federal employees that we've seen since the Carter administration. And I have to say, anecdotally, the level of engagement that we had, the number of messages that we got sent to Congress was something like tenfold what we had in previous years. So we were very, very proud about our effort to get the biggest pay bump for federal employees, a much needed pay bump that we've had in decades. We held a huge press conference on the steps of the Capitol with members of Congress to advocate for wildland firefighters. That was a big thing that put us on the map, and that effort has really paid dividends for us for wildland firefighters. We were able to ensure that our wildland firefighters did not fall off the pay cliff, even though we had to get through several continuing resolutions, and it was a very, very heavy lift to get there. We also were able to get a wildland firefighter pay levels onto these so-called clean continuing resolutions. So I talked about doing things that we haven't been able to do before. Usually when they pass a clean CR, that's a thing that there's no opportunity to attach anything to. Certainly not labor type provisions being attached, but even when they were passing a clean CR at the end of fiscal year in December of last year, they included wildland firefighter pay in those clean CRs. So to be operating at that level, which was something that it was breaking new ground for us, and ultimately giving our members more access and the ability to get things done for them. So let's see here. We got standalone legislation introduced in both houses to make the current pay for wildland firefighters permanent. That's an ongoing fight. In the VA, we defeated attempts to reinstate the VA Accountability Act, which is so important to our members in the VA. We made sure in the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, to include appropriate funding and work for our DoD locals. And we made sure to avoid another harmful round of base realignment and closure, or BRACs, or major staff reductions that were being called for by some in Congress. That battle is not entirely over, as Steve was talking about. The appropriations bills, some of these aren't completely passed yet, so there's still more work to do in Congress. But we're very pleased with our accomplishments and our ability to protect our folks. We had big fights for our FAA employees, protecting telework for them, and Local 476 as well. On the organizing and pivot to the organizing side of things, we have been absolutely growing like gangbusters. I'm so proud of the work that's being done. Last year, we achieved 14% net growth. I'll say that again. Last year, in calendar year 2023, we achieved 14% net growth. I mean, that absolutely blows me away. And when you combine that with 2022, which is another good year for us, we've had 25% net growth in the last 2 years combined. I could say without hesitation that makes NFFE one of the fastest, if not the fastest, growing unions in America. And I just want to congratulate all the leaders across the country that made this tremendous, tremendous growth possible. Congratulations, everybody. I hope people unmute, clap, do it, whatever. That's a big, I mean, it also, tremendously helps our finances and allows us to kind of, recruit and retain talent. And it just, when we're able to do that, it allows us to move the union forward in every facet of our business. And so, congratulations. Let's keep it going. A lot of that was internal growth, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But we've also had a lot of external wins, things like new forests that we organized. We've got a real big organizing effort happening in the national parks. Last year, we organized Yellowstone National Park, which is the flagship national park, and we really, really hope that we're going to continue to have success in the Park Service, and make it a big thing, maybe even get a nationwide contract, which we are kind of pushing the this administration to give us now that we have a bigger and growing presence in the Park Service. We also grew quite a bit in GEO, added several facilities at GEO, and we're up to 21, nationwide now. So we're doing it internally, we're doing it externally, and overall, it's adding up to some really, really big numbers that are making us a much stronger union. So the next matter impacts all NFFE federal employees. We talked about this a bit earlier, but NFFE is continuing our fight to increase pay for federal employees. As I said before, last year we were able to secure a 5.2% pay increase for federal employees in 2024. However, we are continuing to fight relentlessly for a 7.4% increase through the FAIR Act this year. I encourage you to join us in this fight by going to NFFE.org and sending a letter to your members of Congress. Please send your message immediately, sometime today, if you could. Make sure not to use any government equipment. Use your own phone or tablet or computer to do it. But make sure you do it if you haven't done so already. And Matt is going to send out an email. He'll send out an action alert on the FAIR Act later today, redistributing that, where you can click on the link, write your senators and House rep, and ask them to support this legislation. Getting bipartisan support for that FAIR Act is a key piece of getting a big pay increase for our members. We want it to be bipartisan, and we want there to be as many co-sponsors as possible. And that's the way we get a big raise around here, is by getting active on that piece of legislation. So we knocked it out of the park last year, and we want to do it again this year. And we aim to beat that 5.2%, and we're going to be relentless getting the biggest raise we possibly can this year. So all of our success in various areas over the past couple of years has resulted in tremendous NFFE growth. Some of that has been through organizing units, but it was actually about 2/3 of our growth that has resulted from the effort of local leaders like those on this call, increasing membership at their existing locals. Last year, we had 69 locals that participated in our organizing donation program, and it was our best year yet by a wide margin. We introduced it back in 2017 and had a lot of good success for a couple years. And then, we got a little off track during the pandemic. But 3 years ago, we had 12 locals opted in. 2 years ago, we had 29 locals opted in. And this past year, we had 69 locals opted in. And, our ability to grow our union has been very, very highly correlated with getting locals that opted into the program. And the bottom line is, for locals that opt in, they have a tendency to grow. Overwhelmingly, they're adding membership throughout the year. And last year, the average membership increase for locals that opted in and gained membership was 25 net new members. So it's a very effective program, and we'll hope you be a part of it. I want to give a shout out to our most successful local under the organizing donation program last year, NFFE Local 1650, which represents workers at the Forest Service locals in Southern California. They gained 252 net new members during the 2023 organizing program. Wow, that is a staggering number. It really is. My hat goes off to you. That is the biggest gain that we have, not only for last year. That is the biggest gain we have ever had in the organizing donation program. So wow, congratulations. We tried to set up to see if we could get somebody from 1650 on the call, and I'm not sure if we do, but Matt, do we have folks from 1650 that can talk about their success under the program for a couple minutes?
I believe we do.
Yeah, we're here, Dorsey. We're here.
All right.
There we go. Here we go. Mark Munoz and Matt Brossard. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself, Perez? Good.
Fantastic. So guys, tell me, How'd you do it?
Okay, well, so I'll start it off. I'm currently the council vice president for Region 5, the former local 1650 president, and then I'm here with the current president. Right now, I'm Matthew Broussard. And so what we'll do is just kind of just give you a little bit, some little nuggets of that helped us with our success. And for those that don't know, Local 1650 was known as a ghost union. There was pretty much no one involved. There was like 27 members, and half of those folks didn't even know they were paying dues. And so it started off with Max Alonso driving from San Diego to a town in Hesperia, 3 hours north, into my garage, talking about the union. And I asked him, well, what is the union done? You know, what are they doing? He's like, well, what have you done with the union? I was like, well, what can I do? And that's where the seed was planted, and that's where it started. And the first thing I want to share with everybody who's having those struggles on building their locals, first thing you got to do is you got to believe in yourself, number one. You got to believe in the union's mission and capabilities, and then you have to build and believe in your team. And it was pretty frustrating at times, but I had a lot of folks to lean on from the East Coast to the West, North, and South of the United States who were out me to, get through being the only person. There was no stewards, no nothing. I jumped right into the local president position. So super overwhelming. But believing in the folks like Max and the folks at NFFE National and the Forest Service Council, those were the team folks that helped build me up. And then I got very lucky and found Steve Gutierrez. Actually, Max found Steve Gutierrez, who now was my sidekick. So we went from 1 to 2 folks, and then now our growth is all the way up into the 500s. And one of the things that we did is what you have to do is you have to become that talent scout, right? You got to look for that talent, someone who's very passionate in all these different working groups and committees within your locals or your agency, and approach them. You have to be the face. You got to get out there. You got to walk around, shake hands, talk to people. But most of all, you got to fight for your people. I have a lot more losses, but they were wins because people just saw, you know what? He's fighting for us. And I said, no, it's NFFE and the folks behind me that helped me fight for you. And next, those people are signing up. How do I get involved? How do I get plugged in? And then you get those folks that are part of those working committees. And then once you get those folks in those working committees and just tell them that's what they're going to be part of as a rep, next, they start taking on those steward duties. And next, the other people see them fighting for them. And next, you have 100, 200 folks. And then the biggest key is successional planning. Successional planning is the hugest thing. And I'll give you a quick example. When Steve first jumped on board with us in local 1650, he started sitting on some of the meetings. I tell management, can I have this guy sit in the meeting? So he was seeing what we can do as a union, the capabilities of the union, which sold Steve and the rest of our folks. And then Steve Gutierrez ended up becoming our next local 1650 president, and who is now a business rep for NFFE. And then he started successional planning, finding Matt Broussard and grooming him and getting him ready, who is now the current one. So it's really about believing yourself, believing in the mission, the capabilities, and showing it, leading by example. If everybody sees that from the lowest level all the way to the highest level, they're going to sign, which is why we had a Forrest who was anti-union, did not want to be part of the union. One of the oldest forests in California is now part of local 1650, and which is part of the reason why we went from 27 members to, I want to say, roughly approximately over 500 members. And the way it's being sustained now, well, I'll roll that over to our current president.
Hey, Randy.
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you, man.
Good. I would say our current success rate and current growth path is based upon one thing, and that's results. 1650, I mean, I see you vet more than most people, I think, these days, and talking with Dorsey and Max and Gut. My kids know Gut's name now. We're on the phone so much. Daddy, are you talking to Gut? Yes, honey, I am. But it's our results. The members are seeing the results. The non-members are seeing the results, and they're asking to sign. I get approached on incidents and on, at meetings. Hey, I love what you guys are doing. How do I get involved? I have a stack of 1187s in my briefcase, and just hand them out. I mean, we're signing up 10, 15 a week, some weeks still currently. And once we get the Paycheck Protection Act across the board, that'll be the largest recruiting tool for the union that we'll ever have. There's hundreds of people that say that they will join if they see that go through, because they know the work that the union has pushed on it and see the success. One of the other biggest successes is the social media campaign. Gut and them has started with the 1650 Instagram page. the power of social media, I don't even think we know really the ends of it, where it stops and where reality begins with the outreach that is possible with it. But our success with the donation program pays for our trips to DC, pays for our trips for conventions and all of that. So we're not spending local money, we're spending, you know, the money you're cutting the check to us for the organizing.
Sure.
It all started with a bet with us in DC last year, Randy. I told you we'd double. We doubled.
Incredible.
We'll do our best again this year, but
Oh, man.
Remind me what I owe you so I can pay off on that day.
we'll talk later.
I just want to add, you know, for the folks out there that are still trying to get their locals built, don't just rely on yourself. If you need to get a hold of myself, Matt, or Gut, we'd be more than happy to help anybody on this call to give you some other ideas, because I know we're short on time, but there's a lot of other things we didn't mention that help us with our successes. So if anybody feels they need to reach out to us on a phone call, East Coast, West Coast time, it don't matter, because I know when I was calling at 9 o'clock at night, the guys like Andy Vanderhall in Michigan, it was already past midnight or whatever over there, and he was taking my call. So I'm definitely going to pay it forward. So just believe in your folks and be that voice, and people will sign.
Well, that's great, guys. And this didn't get mentioned, but you know, because of their growth, 252 net members, they got a check, and just so everybody knows, on February 16th, NFFE paid out all the locals for the locals that opted into the program last year and achieved net growth during the program. So all those funds kind of left NFFE on the 16th and would have been arriving in your locals' checking accounts either that day or 1 or 2 business days after that. So everybody who participated last year has been paid, and be looking for if you haven't looked at your statements yet, for those who look at statements and, you know, have that kind of a role, be looking for it. It would have happened little after Valentine's Day last year. But these folks, 1650, they got a check last year for over $20,000 because of their success in the program. And that means that their local completely changes the ball game. It is amazing that they started with 17 members and now are somewhere around 500. You know, that was a bit of a ghost local, you know, not that long ago. And you can see, you know, when you get a good little team together that wants to turn things around, the great work that can be done. And now those folks can't be stopped, you know, and we have seen examples of this in the VA, at DOD, at the Forest Service. You know, there's no local that cannot do that if that's what they want to do. So, you know, that is a real tremendous success story. Congratulations, folks at 1650. I do want to say that, you know, the success in the Forest Service in growing was not limited to just 1650. That was where we saw the biggest gains, but there were quite a few locals that did very, very well under the program. Locals that grew by 60% or more. There were a few different examples. So I do want to congratulate Sean Patterson and all the other leaders of the Forest Service Council on some of the tremendous gains of the Forest Service. Congratulations, folks. You guys did a great job. I do want to talk about I want to talk about the VA because you know, we had tremendous growth in the VA as well. In fact, in 2023, VA locals accounted for 9 of the top 13 fastest growing locals in NFFE. And so, you know, that was, you know, really, really tremendous. We did talk to a couple locals about maybe saying a couple words about how they did it from the VA. Matt, do we have anybody that we spoke to earlier from those VA locals that are on?
I believe Della was going to join us. I don't see her on the Zoom call, but she might be on the phone. So Della, if you're there, if you want to unmute yourself. If not, we can move on.
Okay, that's too bad. We would have liked, or it was Kim Valadez able to get on from Local 1? Do we have Kim Valadez? I think she was another one of the highest growing, or Local 1 was another one of the top growing locals in the program. Okay, well, that would have been nice.
Yes.
Anyway, so then and of course it didn't just stop with those two agencies. We had strong growth in places like 2189 Red River Army Depot that got paid out under the program, did very well. Congratulations to folks at that local. Chris, local president of 2189. Local 1998 Passport Agency was another one of our top locals. They're a nationwide local. They did fantastic. Congratulations to the leaders out there. Overall, we could not have had such success growing the union in 2023 without NFFE locals participating in the organizing donation program. So we want to keep that momentum rolling in 2024. We announced this year's organizing donation program just last week. So sign up as soon as you can, and let's make 2024 an even bigger year for NFFE. If you have any questions about enrolling in the program, ask your business representatives for details, or just visit the NFFE website. All the information you can find there. I do want to take a minute to thank a couple of our really, really important partners that we couldn't have achieved our success last year without. First is the Machinists Union, who have just made a tremendous investment in NFFE in the last couple years. Most recently, they hired Jerry McCarty as an organizer in their organizing department. And Jerry, who is our former national business rep, is leading an effort to kind of organize NFFE. He's leading a team of IAM organizers to help us organize internal to NFFE. And so we're excited about what that's going to be, what that's going to bring for us. In years past, we've typically had access to usually one organizer, for the last few years from the machinist side. Last year that started to increase, and this year we have 4 full-time organizers completely dedicated to growing NFFE locals, and that just really increases the capacity of what we're able to do nationwide. So guys, if you're not on the calendar yet, and ladies, if your local doesn't have an organizing drive scheduled, please do so immediately. We're putting things on the calendar every single day. We now have the capacity to be in 2 and 3 different locations across the country. So our capacity does not resemble what it was in years past. And so, we hope that you'll first opt into the organizing donation program immediately, work with your business rep, get your plan, get your goal, identify your team, and start organizing. I will say that the organizing donation program, the evaluation period is from the last pay period in October the year before to the last pay period in October of this year. So the evaluation period has already started. So for this year's program, we'll compare your membership at the end of October of last year to the membership at the end of October of this year. Take the difference, and you'll get paid out under the program accordingly. So bottom line is, start organizing right now. And we want to put things on the calendar and help you organize. When we do organizing drives, we overwhelmingly have success doing them. So the main thing is to get them on the calendar, and then of course to make some improvements over time. I do want to also thank our partners at Benefit Architects. They are they're a benefit provider. Their life insurance and dental and some other things that is just really tremendous. And they really add to the suite of benefits that we offer our members. And incidentally, a lot of those benefits save our members a lot of money. So for those who are concerned about the cost of dues, if they take advantage of any of the benefits through Benefit Architects, they're either going to offset the cost of those dues, or in some cases have a net savings because of those programs. So thank you to our folks at Benefit Architects, and I encourage all of our locals putting organizing on the calendar to work with both our IAM and Benefit Architects partners. They're so beneficial to us, and just great partners for us. So I did want to let folks know that we did recently hire an organizing director. Ethan West, who had been our organizing director for the last several years, took a position with another union. We were sad to see him go, but happy for him. But we've had a vacancy for a few months because it's been a hard one to fill. But we made a hire just this week, and we are expecting our organizing director to be starting on March 18th and to be working with local, all the locals and councils to implement our organizing strategic plan. So we're very excited about a new era with NFFE's new organizing director. So now I do want to go back to Steve Lenkart. Steve, we only got about 15 more minutes left, so we want to be somewhat quick here to talk. So Steve, talk more about our legislative achievements from last year and goals for this year. Steve, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Randy, and I'll try to be quick. We have, for those who follow politics and for those who don't, we have a Speaker of the House, a guy by the name of Mike Johnson out of Louisiana. He's a new member of Congress elected in 2017. And he was put into the Speaker's position after many, many, many votes to oust Kevin McCarthy. Because he's such a new member of Senate, he's not a very effective leader for his caucus. They say he's not, in control of his house. His house is not in order. And that has been the problem why we're getting so many delays in getting bills passed as far as appropriations bills and authorizations bills. And for those who don't know, appropriations bills are funding bills, authorization bills are for policy. So everything's moving at a very glacial pace. As you know, we just passed, or we're going to pass in the next few hours, half of the appropriations bills. We're already halfway through the fiscal year. So things are moving at a glacial pace. And so we have a largely unproductive Congress this year. However, we did have, we are making some good gains and some good progress in certain areas. One thing I want to point out is we had 2 votes early this year, 2 roll call votes, which are public votes and recorded. And we had 15 Republicans cross over to vote with Democrats on something related to Schedule F. For those of you who don't know, Schedule F is a hiring authority that was created under the Trump administration that basically puts political appointees all over the place across the government and is also allows the government to convert career people over to a political appointee status. So we're highly against Schedule F. We have 15 Republicans cross over to vote with us on that bill. And we also had 19 Republicans cross over and vote with Democrats on a bill to preserve the federal union dues process. So that is tremendous. I don't remember the last time we've had 15 or 19 Republicans have also cross over on federal workforce issues, much less federal union issues. I mean, in the 23 years I've been working in Congress, so this is probably a first. So that is because we work a lot with Republicans. I spend a lot of my evenings going to their fundraisers and talking to them, and we've developed some great relationships. And it's because of those relationships that we're able to get things like our firefighter pay through and hold off on BRAC and some other things as well too. So moving on from that, as Randy said, 5.2% increase on salaries this year on average. We had asked for 8.4, which was included in the FAIR Act, which is the annual bill that increases pay. Fair Adjustment of Income Rates Act, FAIR for short. NFFE for 2025, we requested a 7.4% pay increase. We know we're not going to get that, but we're going to ask for it. We've already asked for it anyway, and it's in the bill. The FAIR Act for 2025, we're looking to stay above 5% in the end. As Randy said, we have an action alert on the website, so please go there and put in your voice for a 7.4% pay increase. A couple other things going on across government. We're still working on the Federal Retirement Fairness Act, also known as the Buyback Act, for seasonal, temporary, and part-time employees that allows them to buy back their months or years of service to count toward retirement. We are up to 22 Republican co-sponsors. We have 62 Democratic co-sponsors. So we have a lot of support from across the aisle. The problem, though, is still the equation that we have to come up with that satisfies both the government and employee. People are going to have to pay for buying that time back, which is why we call it the buyback bill, so it can count toward your retirement. That cost will be split between the government and between the employee, and we're trying to find out what is palatable for both employee and government. And we're working with GAO and OPM to do that. I'm hoping to make some progress this year in a final equation, and then we can hopefully move on the bill. We are still pushing very hard to align pay areas, wage grade pay areas with the GS pay areas and abandon the smaller wage grade areas so they align with GS. We have a long way to go on that bill, but we are making some progress on it. Our firefighters, our 081 firefighters, our structural firefighters, the VA and DOD, in other places, we have a bill called the Federal Firefighter Pay Equity Act that has gained support to allow your overtime to count more towards your retirement, to fix the firefighter overtime hourly rate, and also reduce your weekly workload from 72 to 60 hours. We're going to be participating in a GAO study later on this month. I was just contacted about a week ago for that, and that's a study that we ordered last Congress to look at the issue, because we know it's going to show that our firefighters need to be paid better, overtime needs to count, and they're working way too many hours compared to state and local firefighters in the same areas. The VA Correct Compensation Act is going to allow Title 38 professionals to grieve pay discrepancies. We are going for that this year. We have a hearing later on this month in the House VA committee, and we are also looking at some other pieces of legislation, maybe some of the CPE Modernization Act, which if you're familiar, if you are part of that, you'll know what that means. And also some other issues of the the Employee Fairness Act that we passed through the House last Congress. We may get bits and pieces of both of those bills. We won't get those bills in their entirety, but bits and pieces put in. For our Corps of Engineer folks, they're undergoing a lock and dam automation. We're working with our sister union, IPTE, in the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee to make sure that our members don't lose their jobs or not replaced. And also we're concerned about the safety of operations as they automate so that hackers don't get in there and control our locks and dams. Working with our APHIS animal inspectors, getting some legislative and media attention against APHIS management, who's trying to change their hours, which will interfere with their ability to do timely inspections and also effective inspections. We are beginning discussions now on the NDAA for 2025. Again, we're looking for the typical things, 876 moratorium. We're keeping an eye out for any talk of BRAC anywhere, and then also any anti-employer, anti-labor provisions that sometimes make it into those. We'll always make it into the amendments of those bills, but then we got to fight off those amendments. Federal Tax Fairness for Workers Act, which would allow you to deduct your union dues as a tax deduction, pushing for that. And then the other things that we push for every year, which is rolling back FERS 2 and 3 to FERS 1 levels, increasing the FERS annuity from 1% to 1.1%, or 1.1% to 1.7% to combat the annuity erosion that's occurred, maintaining high 3 and those kinds of things. And we're also pushing for the Law Enforcement Equity Act for our uniformed law enforcement officers, the VA and DOD, to give you full LEO benefits. And we have a lot of Republican support for that as well, too. I don't know if we're going to be able to get that done, but we are constantly trying to push through. Back to our firefighters, of course, we have we endured some success in getting appropriators support to maintain the raises for the rest of this fiscal year, and they gave a very passionate plea to the rest of Congress to pass the permanent solution for the pay cliff, which is the Wildland Firefighter Paycheck Protection Act, WFPBA. Excuse me, I'm fighting a cold here. To get that done. The great thing about the appropriators imploring the rest of Congress to do that is it gives no one any reason to say no. It's a bipartisan request from appropriators asking authorizers to get their act together and pass the bill. We are in daily conversations with Leader Schumer's office to get floor time for it. The problem is we need to attach it to a larger bill, and those bills are hard to find. But we have a commitment from them that as soon as they can, they're going to do it. And we are on them, honestly, like a wet t-shirt to get this done this year. HARD Act is going to be a slow go this year. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a big bill, and the authorizers are not in the mood to do a lot of big changes in a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that we can't get some of that done in terms of housing and some of the other issues that are in their quality of life issues. We may try to break up some of those provisions and slip them in wherever we can. The appropriators also that said that they're in favor of the pay cliff solution also said they're in favor of passing legislation to fix the overtime pay caps for wildland firefighters too, in both during pay periods and also in terms of your annual salary totals. And that's something that NFFE made sure was in there for both. So you don't get capped by either pay period or annual totals. Appropriators are for it. We have, yes.
I'm sorry, buddy. I think I may have to cut you off here. We want to get a couple question and answers in. And
All
so
right,
we're running out of time here.
I was just about finished, but I'll let it go.
Okay. That was an excellent report. I appreciate it. I just do want to get to our questions and answers. A couple things real quick. Matt, please get those question and answers going. We're not going to go to any other, I was hoping to get a time for a couple others in. We're not gonna be able to go to any other folks, just question and answers. But on the organizing donation program, it's virtually an unchanged program from last year. But there are two changes. One, instead of $80 per net member, locals are going to be paid now $100 per net member gained. Okay, so you'll make more money under the program this year than you would have last year. Take Local 1650. They got about $20,000 last year. If they equal their same numbers this year, they'll get about $25,000. So it's a better program for the locals. So take advantage of it. Also, the program, it has been authorized by our executive committee, our NEC, for the next 2 years. So sometimes folks were waiting around to wait for the program to come out to start some of their organizing. There's no reason to do that now, because we're absolutely gonna have the same program next year. We will still have an opt-in process next year, but you don't need to wait. So organize this year, have success under the program, and continue to organize, because the program is definitely reauthorized for next year. With that, I will send it to Matt for questions and answers. We just have a few minutes to take those. Go ahead, Matt.
Sure. So our first question here is from Andy Vandriel on the Forest Service Council and from Local 2086. His question is, as we look to the national elections in November of this year, is there anything NFFE locals should be doing to prepare for a possible change in presidential administration?
Okay, this is Jeff. I'll take that question. The trainings we've been doing at the harbor, we've been talking to all the locals that come through about that they should think about extending their collective bargaining agreement for maybe the next 4 years. The point being that, during the first Trump administration, executive orders were passed, which had a very, very negative effect on unions. It hurt our official time. It hurt our access to union office space and equipment and other things. And if we have in our contracts rights to official time, rights to union office space and equipment, et cetera, then those cannot be taken away, and as long as our contract is still in effect. It would only be when the contract came open that those executive orders would come to have effect on our groups. And so if you're in the Forest Service, you don't have to worry about it, because we have a nationwide CBA and that's being finished up right now. In the VA, we also have the nationwide CBA. But for all the DoD locals and anybody else, you may want to look at the possibility of sitting down with management and doing a 4-year extension of your agreement, just to protect yourself against the downside of a change in administration. And if you try that and it doesn't, and the management is resistant to it, let your business rep know. And we have contacts in the administration that should be able to get things moving if we want to do that. So I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Jeff. Our next question is from Genevieve from Local 1431. And her question is, when will the next mailing of membership cards take place?
It's a good question.
I believe Randy is on his way.
Yeah. So this is how big our last run of membership cards went. Let me tell you, this is huge. We put on so many members. It's the biggest run we've ever had by a wide margin. So they're printed out, and they're going to be, we're doing a big collaborative laminating and stuffing party that we do when we have big mailings to do. And yeah, there's no bigger kind of stuffing project that other than membership cards. So they're all printed and going out soon. And so you can all be looking for those. They should be arriving in the next couple weeks, probably in the next month for sure. So be looking for those. Thank you for the question, and appreciate your patience as we got those together.
It is 2:00. Do we want to go to one more question?
We'll take one more and then we're done.
Okay, our final question is from Dennis Murakami at Local 1450. And his question was, with bargaining unit employees on multiple days of telework, traditional methods of recruiting new members have been challenging. Is NFFE trying different methods of reaching out to people for organizing?
Who was going to take that question?
I believe you were, Randy, just about talking about how, we're working with the IM and our NFFE BRs to set up organizing drives.
Could you restate the question? I'm sorry. I thought that was going to someone else. Yeah.
With bargaining unit employees on multiple days of telework, traditional methods of recruiting new members have been challenging. Is NFFE trying different methods of reaching out to people for organizing?
It's, the pandemic made it very challenging. I think we will be trying new things, and we have already, particularly through Benefit Architects, which kind of has a whole program that they use for the locals that work with them. They know that. But yeah, we want to continue to innovate and use every different method that we can to get to our folks, particularly those who are on telework that are difficult to reach. But we're getting a little bit more back to normal in terms of things. Before, during the pandemic, we couldn't even get on facilities. Now we are, I'll tell you right now, we have probably, I'm looking at this list here, 10 or 12 different locals where we have on-site organizing planned already, and we're adding to that list every day. But we also want to innovate and find new ways to get to our members. And I know we have a lot of ideas for that, and we've been implementing a couple of those. We also have the electronic 1187. If folks go to www.neffe1187.org, you'll see an electronic 1187 where somebody can go on click on that website or that URL or that link and sign up and become a member right then. And that's a big innovation for us that makes a lot of different things possible. But yeah, we want to continue to innovate, and we're open to ideas and finding new ways to reach our members.
All right, thanks for that, Randy. So for those of you that did email questions, we'll respond to you via email. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and we can respond to your questions via email. But thank you all for coming, and I will turn it over to Randy for some last words.
Thank you all for coming, everybody. Really appreciate all the hard work each of you do every day. Your union appreciates you. Bye, everyone.